Ready? Play.
And now here I go slice. This is normal flat. But see, sometimes you don't actually. Sometimes you don't. And now here I go slice. And this is normal flat. But see, sometimes you don't actually. Sometimes you don't. And now here I go slice. And this is normal flat. So see, sometimes you don't actually. Sometimes you don't.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
Ready? Play.
I want one more thing from you, Francisca. Can you look at the camera and I want you to say, I am Francisco Jorge and I am a friend of the show. Can you try it?
I am Francisca Jorge, and I'm a friend. Wait.
Go. It's okay.
I'm Francisca Jorge, and I'm a fan of the show.
One more time. Can you say, I'm a friend of the show?
Friend.
Like amigo.
Friend.
A friend. So, because we joke, we have players come on all the time, they have no idea, but after they've been on, we say, oh, Yelena Ostapenko is a friend of the show. She has no idea. But so if we get you to say, I am Francisca Jorge, or how you say your name, and
I am Francisca Jorge, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect. Thanks, man. Just want you to do me one more thing. I want you to hold the microphone. I want you to look in the... Don't be nervous. I mean, listen, you've just beaten Yelena Ostapenko.
I'm not nervous.
No, you shouldn't be. If you can beat Ostapenko twice in one day, you can do this for sure. I want you to look at the camera and just say, hi, my name is, say your name, and then say, and I'm a friend of the show.
Friend of the show?
Yeah?
Okay. Hi, my name is Susan, and I'm a friend of the show.
Say your whole name for me. That's the only thing I want.
Sorry.
Surname too. No, you're doing great.
You're
doing
cutting,
great.
huh?
Yeah, I'll cut it up. Don't worry. Yeah, yeah.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Thank you very much, Susan.
You're welcome.
Good luck for the rest of the tournament.
Thank you.
And I will tag you on Instagram, and you can reject. I do have one more tiny thing, which is I want you to look into the camera.
Yeah.
I want you to say your name.
Yes.
And I want you to say, I am a friend of the show.
I'm a friend of the show. Okay.
Perfect, yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much.
Game, set match, Sabalenka. Ready. Play.
Hello, welcome back to Talking Tennis on a very exciting men's semi-final day in Madrid. Really excited to be getting into this Taylor Fritz Andrey Rublev match this afternoon. On my screen at the moment, they're just warming up and just showing their head-to-head. They've only played each other once at last year's Monte Carlo, where Rublev won in 3. So, I mean, it's a difficult one to call today. It's probably not a semi-final that any of us were predicting, if we're honest with ourselves. Certainly not me. But now that we've got it, I'm quite excited about it. I think both players have played really well so far to get here. They've both beaten players that I certainly didn't expect them to beat. So it's exciting to see how they might match up against each other. Welcome to Ozan as well. I see you're already in the chat. I see that yes, of course, big talking point today that Carlos Alcaraz has pulled out of Rome. Not super surprised by that myself. I think he obviously wasn't quite at 100% when he was playing Rublev. I don't think that takes anything away from Rublev's win against him. It was just that his forehand wasn't quite what we'd expect it to be. I still think Rublev did very well to beat him. Other people weren't able to. So, yeah, no Alcaraz in Rome. Obviously, I thought it was a real shame to see Medvedev pull out yesterday as well. We don't know whether we'll be seeing him in Rome. Yannick Sinner, of course, has pulled out of Madrid, so we don't know if we'll be seeing him in Rome. So Rome feels very up in the air right now, but it's only a few days away, as is the way with these practically 2-week tournaments. So, yeah, Rome's going to be a really interesting one. I assume we're going to see Novak Djokovic. I think we all believe we're going to see Novak Djokovic in Rome, but who else are we going to see? I don't know. Yeah, it's exciting. But yes, today we'll be watching, of course, yes, Taylor Fritz. I hope he doesn't mind if I continue to call him Taylor Fritz instead, but he has tried to claim that he is currently Taylor. And I can see why. I mean, I imagine he's taking a lot of confidence from his performances in this tournament. I hope he is, because I think it's been a shame to see him look very low on confidence in recent months. So it's nice to see Taylor Fritz sort of showing what he is able to do again, what he's capable of, what we've seen from him before in years past. They're just getting underway now with Rublev serving first. In terms of predictions for this one, because I suppose I should probably predict. I'm a little bit reluctant to, but I probably should. I am going to go for Rublev in this one. I just think the confidence that comes from beating a player like Alcaraz is pretty strong. And also, if he plays like he did against Alcaraz, I'm not sure Fritz will have the firepower to match him. So I'm against the run of votes here. It's 62% for Fritz. I wasn't expecting that. Okay, interesting. I'm going to go for Rublev, and I'm going to go straights as well. As I'm saying, Fritz's big serve has bailed him out of trouble throughout this tournament. I do absolutely agree with that. I wouldn't say he's been in too much trouble, but it has sort of helped him out a lot during the tournament. I was really impressed with how he played against Cerundolo, because I thought as soon as Cerundolo beats Zverev, I thought it was sort of a shoe-in for the semis. So it was a good win, that one. But 30-15 here on Rublev's first service game. I think we could be looking at a few quite quick service games, but who knows? Taylor Fritz might have something to say about that. Great forehand down the line winner there to make it 30 all. Yeah, Ozan mentioned when I left the Rublev Alcaraz stream the other day, of course, as soon as I left, Alcaraz started losing. And that has weighed heavily on me since, I'll be honest. I've felt the weight of that loss. I do take some responsibility there. That was clearly partly my fault. So big apology to Carlos Alcaraz and to his team and to Spain, I suppose, in general. For that one. Yeah, Rublev doing well here though, 40-30. Some good serving. Ooh, that forehand I think was just called out, just long, but Rublev is going to challenge it, a forehand cross court. It looks just long to me, but I have been wrong before. Not this time, that one was relatively far out, so make that deuce. Rublev serving straight down the middle, allowing Taylor Fritz to sort of get into the rally with some strong forehands. They're now backhand to backhand. Taylor Fritz tries to make it a little bit wider and goes into the tram lines, advantage Rublev. I don't know why Taylor Fritz is one of those players where I always want to call him by his full name. I really struggle to just call him Fritz or Taylor. I always say Taylor Fritz. I'm going to have to really try and stop myself. That'll get very annoying if I keep doing that. Back to deuce here. That's a wide serve from Rublev. Fritz goes long on the return. So another game point for Rublev here. Somebody saying Fritz does not play stably. Yeah, I know what you mean in terms of if we're talking across quite a long period of time. I feel like he's very up and down. And I think we've talked about before, or I've talked about before on here, him being somebody that if you get him in a draw, you feel like if somebody ranked lower gets Taylor Fritz in a draw, they feel like they could get a scalp there. And I think that makes sense with your stable comment. I would say in matches, he can look very consistent if he's on his game. But, you know. And what do I think about this game? I was just saying I think it will be Rublev to win this one for me in straights, but I'm against the grain apparently on our poll. Please do take part in our poll on YouTube. Most people think Taylor Fritz has this one. As he takes it back to deuce, Rublev unable to convert another game point there. What brand is Rublev wearing? Is it Castoria? I'm not sure. I know, is it his own brand? I think it's Rublo, his own brand. Is it? Where he launched last year? I'm not positive. I'm not the best person to ask with tennis brands, but I think he wears his own brand, Rublo. Which is a great name. Oh, it's a poor slice from Taylor Fritz on the backhand side. Advantage Rublev. Where would you rank Fritz on clay? How good is his clay game? Well, before this week, I probably wouldn't have ranked Fritz that well on clay, to be honest. He's got the potential for a success there, but I've probably myself seen most of his success come on a hard court. But clay does suit him, certainly, and he uses his serve well on the clay, uses that to his advantage. So pretty good in terms of how good is his clay game. Pretty good. Certainly good this week in Madrid. But it's hard to judge him outside of that for me, because I feel like this form in Madrid has sort of come on quite suddenly. He did play well in Munich, though, actually, because he made the final in Munich. So it's sort of maybe the last couple of tournaments he's come good. And those have been on clay. So he's certainly in good form on the surface. Oh, Rublev sort of with an early bounce of the racket, kicking the ball away from him. Not happy with that point as Fritz gets his first break point opportunity of the match. The Rublo brand. Yes, I think so. Yes, Azan, that's what I'm pretty sure he is. Oh, great inside-out forehand from Rublev. Still going. He goes for another one, but that one is wild. And Fritz, after me coming on and saying, oh, I think it will be some really quick service games to start with. No, Fritz breaks immediately for the 1-love lead. Great start for the American. Hi, Swana. Great to have you. I'm looking forward to all of the brilliant analysis and stats that you always bring to the streams. Fritz is motivated to keep his US #1 ranking. Yes, I'm not always very good on #1 rankings in countries because I just don't keep track of them that much. It's not something I'm big on. But am I right in saying that Shelton became the #1 American, and then I don't know if Fritz has now got that back because of this tournament. I'm not very good at keeping track of the US #1. It feels like other people are really big on this, the US #1. It's just it's not really on my radar. But I'm pretty sure Shelton had it briefly recently. I don't know if maybe, like you say, maybe Fritz has got it back now and he wants to keep it. Not sure. Great inside-out forehand from Rublev. Love 15. Top says, beating Byers and Big Cerundolo on clay, I think is impressive for everyone. Surprised that Fritz did it. Yeah, I agree. Certainly wasn't expecting him to beat Cerundolo. Byers is a good scalp too, but Cerundolo was the one I was really shocked by, especially after he beat Zverev, who I know has been patchy recently, but he's still got so much potential on clay to do well, and I thought he'd be at least a semi-finalist here. He's also quite consistent in the top tournaments this year so far, Sasha Zverev. So I assumed he would, once Cerundolo got the best of him, I really thought he'd kick on. So yeah, big wins for Fritz. And if he can use them today, then you never know. Although Rublev, love 30 here, not happy with this early break from Fritz, hoping to get it back straight away. Oh, thanks, Swana. Shelton did have it for a couple of weeks. That makes me feel better about me trying to keep track with it. Okay. into a backhand rally. Not had anything too lengthy rally-wise, but they are always getting into these rallies, and a great backhand from Taylor Fritz to get 15-30 there. Hi, Elam. Rublev needs to stay level-headed like he did against Alcaraz. Yes, I was so. I think I was so impressed with Rublev's sort of mentality in that match, and then I was really surprised when, in his post-match interview, at least on Sky Sports, all he talked about was how pleased he was with his own mentality. He didn't talk about his tennis. He didn't talk about anything else. He just said, "I stayed calm. I'm so happy," which was lovely. And yeah, we've already seen a little bit of frustration, nothing too bad from Rublev. I do think it is very key for him to stay calm today. Great rally, Rublev up at the net. Oh, Fritz tries to go for what looked a bit like a lob, but it ended up in the net. And that's 2 break back points for Andrey Rublev at 15-40. Anthony says as well, mental game is huge for Rublev. He gets frustrated too easily and lets that affect him. Yeah, I think I said it the other day that, I can't remember who I was saying it to, but I used to think a long while ago that Rublev needed to really get a hold of his emotions. And then I started to see him play with them, and this was a couple of years ago now, where I actually think it helps him. He plays with emotion, he wears his heart on his sleeve, and it's a big part of his game, and it helps him through the tough moments. But in recent months, that has sort of gone too far, like you say. I think he's become too frustrated with himself, and also allowed that to leak out to others, like unfortunate line judges and that such. So that's something that, yeah, it's not helpful to him. It's very clear that that's not been helpful to him in recent months. And he needs to go back to sort of where his emotions help him through those big moments. Helping him so far, he's got that immediate break back at the second time of asking. So it is back on serve here early on, but a good indication that this could be quite competitive in the early stages of this match. Oh, Ozan coming at us with the stats. Thank you. So Fritz is back to 13 in the world, number 1 for the USA. Ben Shelton, 14. Tommy Paul, 16. Right, gotcha. So all very close. That's a very close run thing. I'd love to see Tommy Paul take it, I can't lie. Just think it'd be great. And I think he looked so good before he got injured. A month or 2 ago now. Oh, it'd be brilliant if we could see that sort of form from him again. Yeah, I think seeing him composed like that was not only a pleasant surprise for us, but also possibly for him. So, yeah, he definitely, if he plays more like that, we might see him in a slam semi-final. Finally, it's all I want for him. I don't even know if he'd be able to play a good semi-final if he got to a semi-final. Would he just completely be like, I'm here now, it doesn't matter what happens? I don't know. I think it's a big deal for him. Dirty love here. So this so far looking like a slightly more straightforward service game for Andrey Rublev. Fritz going for the forehand slice and getting it wrong, going long. 3 game points. First serve in the net. Oof. Rublev's +1 backhand there, just hitting the middle of the net, not got that one right. Nice serve from Rublev though. Taylor Fritz able to return just about into a backhand rally, which feels, I've said that a lot so far. And again, Fritz tries to open up a better angle on it and goes wide. So game to Rublev. it's the first time he takes the lead in this match. I also missed a question earlier. Do you think Rublev will break or smash his racket in this game? Normally, I would count on that most of the time. But you never know. After Alcaraz, it is more composed. Will he be able to bring that into this match? Hopefully. So I'm gonna believe in him and say no racket smash today for Andrey. Good morning, Ghosty, as well. Yes, I do excel at pub trivia. That's, I'm sure, apparent. I'm not sure about your question. Where is Saint Malo? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I think it's in France, if you're talking about just the place. but I'm not sure if you mean it in a different way to that. For anyone who's just joining us and might have missed the news this morning that Carlos Alcaraz has withdrawn from Rome due to his arm injury, which I think, from my understanding, is sort of a complication from his previous injury in his forearm. You can read all the details on that, though, that I can't give you right now on the Talking Tennis website. There's a tennis event right now in Saint Malo. Well, that's why. There we are. France, I believe. Peyton Stearns is playing there right now. Oh, I didn't realise. Nice overhead from Taylor Fritz to make it 15-love. Probably better off for Carlos to be ready for Roland Garros, says Anthony. Yeah, I totally agree. That must be what him and his team are thinking, right? He doesn't want to be playing with, even if he can play with what injury he has, which maybe he has been in this tournament, he doesn't want to play with pain, certainly not in a slam. So if he can rest and recover, especially because Rome is quite long, he's got a bit of an extended time to rest and recover by missing that tournament. Hopefully he can come to Roland Garros pain-free and ready to really make a go at the French Open. Fritz really firing through this service game now. This is looking like more what I was expecting from the early stages of this match. 40-love. Yeah, I think there's been periods of time where there's been loads of hype for Taylor Fritz and periods of time where there's been loads of criticism for Taylor Fritz. And I think we need to sort of find that middle ground for him where, he doesn't necessarily need to be hyped up too much as the next winner of the US Open. But I think if he just keeps progressing as he is at the moment with those sort of, general progress is being made, I think is the big thing with Taylor Fritz. So yeah, I see what you mean about we should be seeing him in the top 10 again, I would say. Hi Jane, by the way, good to see you in the chat. And thank you very much for your comment about my play-by-play. I'm learning as I go. I'm very much trying to channel my inner Nick when it comes to the play-by-play, because we all know he is the master. 30-15 for Rublev here. And we've got Jake. I'm not keeping up with this chat. There's too many of you today. All of our favourites. Great to see you as well, Jake. Of course. 40-15. Great serve from Rublev. I know what you mean as well, Jane, about Carlos needing to rest because he's not always that efficient. Even though we sing Carlos's praises, and rightly so, and I certainly do, I totally understand what you mean by that. He's not always the most efficient. A lot of the time he does need to fight in his matches, and if he continues doing that without any rest and recovery time, especially with this injury, then we might see something worse, or it would be awful for him to miss the slam, I think. Oh, and Swarner, I will never forget the Irani and Wozniacki match, because that underarm serve at match point is my moment of the tournament, and I won't apologise for it. I refuse to apologise for it. It meant a lot to me. A very quick service game there from Rublev for 3-2. We're only 21 minutes in so far. And you can see on the scoreboard and the screen, first serve percentage-wise, Andrey a little bit higher, but in general quite similar on the first serve. I think it's going to be important if either of them sort of lose their serve at any point in this. Not lose their serve as in lose their service game, I just mean like lose their serving ability or have a bit of a dip in form on serve. I think that's going to be really key in this match. Love that metaphor. Sinner hasn't been playing with his food. Absolutely not. Sinner gets rid of them pretty quickly. He does come across more efficient. I don't know if that's more just at the moment, or if that's going to be a trend we see going forward for a long time. But certainly right now it feels like it. Part of me wonders, though, whether, when Alcaraz first sort of burst through and started doing really, really well, obviously a lot of that, we talked about people not knowing how to play him yet, and that they would learn to play him. And it feels like a lot of players have learned some tactics and ways to play Carlos. You wonder whether Jannik Sinner, it still feels like, he's only really risen to the heights that he's at post-puke, as we all know. And that's still relatively recent in terms of time frame. So I still wonder whether that sort of element of learning how to play Jannik Sinner as he is now is something that the tour is slowly going to get better at the same place they have with Carlos. Love 15 here, and they're into a rally. Taylor Fritz moving Rublev about quite a lot, and it has worked. He's gone long, and it's 15-all. Hi, Sean. Great to see you as well. Sinner's serve, putting him a bit above Alcaraz at the moment for you. I think I've definitely said this one before, but for me, the big thing about Sinner's serve is not only how consistent it is, but how brilliantly he uses it on the points that matter. The big points, you often see him hit an ace for an unreturned serve or a 1-2 punch. I think he uses his serve incredibly well. He's very smart about it. So, understand that. Oof, massive jumping forehand from Taylor Fritz there. Rublev does get it back. They're sort of slicing each other. Taylor Fritz goes for a drop shot, and it is good enough. Nicely done there from Fritz. 40-15. Oh, a stellar stat from Swarner, as we've all come to expect. Sinner has held 92.9, love the 0.9% of his service games this year. That is insane. That is actually insane. I'd not heard that stat. 92%. Wow. Yeah. Well, he's the best player at the world at the moment for a reason. Lovely backhand down the line there from Rublev to make it 40-30. It was his turn to move Fritz about that time, going for the inside-out forehand, followed up by the backhand down the line winner. Very nicely done. Taylor Fritz clutching his Hugo Boss headband in frustration. Rublev on top of this rally already as well. Big forehand cross court. Fritz goes long. And what was looking like a pretty routine game for Fritz has gone to deuce. But a big serve from Taylor Fritz gives him the advantage. I must have missed your Rublev stat, Ghosty. Very sorry to have. I'm predicting a Rublev win today as well, so I'll take all the great Rublev stats I can get because I'm clearly in the minority. Second serve for Taylor Fritz. Goes down the middle. Rublev's backhand hits the net but does go over. And they're into another one of these backhand to backhand rallies. Taylor Fritz running around to hit the forehand inside out, but goes wide. Back to deuce. It's a big bet, Swarner, although quite easy to bet when you're betting somebody else's drinks, I suppose. Oof. Rublev not happy with the fact that he didn't get that return back. Another advantage, Fritz. Peyton Stearns did win the second set. I see that, Casey. I was just going back to check. Of course. Oof. Lovely backhand down the line from Taylor Fritz there to seal that game. Really nice. Hi, Casey. Thanks for joining us. Great to see you. And she says, I voted for Rublev to win, but that was before I saw their head-to-head stats. I'm going to stick with Rublev, but my confidence is a little lower than before. Fair enough. I'm sticking with Rublev as well. Head-to-head aside. It's 5-3, right? That's not too bad. If it was like, you know, Taylor Fritz has won all 8, then yeah, maybe we'd want to change. But 5-3 is pretty even. Oof. Didn't do well with that forehand Rublev, 15-all. I totally agree, by the way, Jane. I love Rublev's emotion when it's not, you know, when it doesn't go too far, as it has done a couple of times recently. I think it's really compelling. It makes you sort of root for him to do well. You can tell how much it means to him. I like that. $30-15 here. Good return from Fritz, practically on Rublev's feet, but he deals with it well. They're into a rally. Fritz goes for the backhand down the line to try and move Rublev about, goes for the backhand cross court, then the drop shot, but Rublev comes in, hits the drop shot really well. 40-15. He was under pressure there from Fritz, was Rublev, but he dealt with it very well. Hi, Catherine. Great to see you. think Fritz really wants this. He hasn't won anything big for a while, only Delray Beach. Anyone's game, though. Yeah, I feel like it's one of those games, though, I know, like, isn't every tennis match, both players always want to win, I know. But I feel like this is a lot for both these players. I think after Rublev's run of form, he could really do with a boost here. But with Fritz's run of form, he could really do with a boost here. So, yeah, I totally understand what you mean. But I think it's, like you say, anyone's game. They both are going to really, really want this. And I'm very interested in the semi-final later, of course, between Felix Auger-Aliassime and Yuri Lehechka, who, yes, have both got through to the semis because their opponents withdrew. Of course, Lehechka was set up on Medvedev when he retired yesterday. Yannick Sinner didn't play at all. We will be covering that on Talking Tennis. Damien, I believe, will be with you for that match later. Love to know what people think the outcome of that will be, who they want to win that. I think it's a really interesting one. I mean, I think it was Mario on Twitter talking about this, how, you know, whether you want massive rivalries in tennis that play each other all the time, or whether you want sort of outside people to climb up. But I love tournaments like this in Madrid where you've got 4 semi-finalists. None of them were really expected to be there. And you're going to have a champion that you weren't expecting and that they probably weren't expecting to get it either. I think that's a really exciting position for a tournament to be in. Obviously, you still want those rivalries, but we've got them. And I think it's great to have sort of an anomaly of a tournament every now and then. Of course, we've got the women's final as well tomorrow. People voting on Twitter about who's going to win that one. I did vote on that poll, and I have contributed to that 60% Swiatek score. Someone asking how serious is Medvedev's injury. Very difficult to tell. I actually didn't manage to watch that first set last night because I wasn't home, but I had my dad texting me updates the whole time. And Medvedev has explained it for you there in better words than I could, I'm sure. So have a read of Medvedev's own words. The thing that really got me was that he said to the physio at one point about how it was feeling better, but he was just so scared. And I think a lot of people would relate to that when they feel an injury and they think they're going to make it worse by carrying on. I think that's what stopped him yesterday. 30 love here for Fritz, by the way, at 3-4. Make that 40 loves. Rublev puts that one in the net. You could tell he wanted to get frustrated there, but he just held that one in. That doesn't sound good for RG for Medvedev. Yeah, it's possible. It's a little ways off, right? I think I'd be really shocked to see him in Rome. But Roland Garros, I feel like there might be enough time for him to make it back for that. But I'm not a physio, so who knows? I would hope he'd be back for the slam at least. Rublev serving here at 4-all. Trying to make Taylor move. Does so well. 15 love. It's been quite even to start with since those early breaks in the first 2 games of the match. I think ever since, neither of them have really looked like they were going to lose serve. Neither of them have pushed too much. And it's been quite even. But we might see them starting to push, especially if Rublev holds here and then he could break for the first set. We might see him starting to push for that a bit more. think that's a really good point that Sean's made there about players having to come back so quickly after injuries because they want to keep up their ranking. I mean, again, great overhead from Rublev there for 40 love, by the way. Again, I'm a little bit torn on whether that's what happened to Alcaraz this tournament in Madrid. Would he have played Madrid if it was not in Spain with the injury that he had and pulling out of Barcelona? I'm not sure. Obviously, we know at the moment about a lot of players not very happy with the tournament schedule and the way that the tournaments are being lengthened at the moment, I suppose. So, yeah, definitely a good point there from Sean. 5-4 Rublev there, pretty straightforward service game to make it 5-4 as well. Yes, Jake, Carlos did pull out of Rome. I think John's just put a link in the chat so you can read all the good information about that. But yes, he has pulled out with that same forearm injury, but not the same injury. It's sort of developed. I've got to say, you know, I'm very excited about all this Casper Ruud Roland Garros talk. I have to say, I've always been on the side of Casper Ruud will win a slam one day. I know it's an unpopular side for many, but I am firmly of the belief that he will. And yeah, I mean, he's got to have a good chance this year, surely, with the clay season that a lot of the top players have been having. Then again, it's hard for me to also go against Novak Djokovic just coming in and sort of blasting past everybody. But recent form wouldn't suggest that. But the fact that he's Novak Djokovic does. So, you know, weighing those two things up. Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it, Swana? 8 hardcore masters is just so many. I mean, yeah, that just seems a little bit excessive, for sure. Which players are not happy about the longer Master 1000? Oof, off the top of my head, recently, I know Rybakina was talking about it, I think 2 days ago or something like that, quite firmly. But I know Medvedev's talked about it. Who else? A lot of people, quite a lot of players. I'm not sure I've seen any players praising it specifically, as they zoom in on Muguruza in the crowd there, by the way, in Madrid. I'm not sure I've seen anyone praising it, but please do correct me if you have. There we go. Swana providing, as always. Swiatek, Rybakina, Garcia, Rublev, Cerundolo. Pretty sure Medvedev's been talking about it. Rybakina was the one that really shocked me because I thought she was really... Medvedev doesn't mind it. There we are. Maybe he will if he starts getting injured all the time. But yeah, Rybakina definitely. And she was quite firm about it, which I'm not sure I've necessarily seen from her before, which I was quite sort of impressed with the way she talked about it. Rublev here making a push, by the way, for the first set. As I've been distracted by talk of these longer masters, he has now got 3 sets points on the Taylor Fritz serve. That happened very suddenly. Love 40. 3 set points for Andrey Rublev here, who I did say might make a bit of a push when he knew he could break for the set. Taylor Fritz goes for the big serve, but it's long, so second serve. Just as my screen goes black, this is perfect. Oh, Sky Sports is struggling. I've got about 8 screens on my screen at the moment, as they would have probably in their studio. Something has gone terribly wrong with Sky Sports. And I don't know if Rublev's got the set. Let's have a look at the score. He has got the set. I can't tell you how. Something's gone awfully wrong. But Rublev has taken that first set in some fashion. whatever it might be. That's terrible. How many times has this happened recently? Somebody who is watching it can take over from me and give a big rundown for me.
I haven't plugged my mic in, but hopefully you can still hear me okay. I've just seen that point, and yeah, Fritz dumped a backhand into the net mid-rally, and that prompted a sort of bounce of the racket. You know, one of those sort of Elena Rybakina kind of, I'm not going to smash my racket, but I'm going to throw it at the ground moment. So that's what you miss. But as you say, the key stat is that Rublev has sealed that set. I like the way you describe it as well. He's like, I'm going to strike now.
Yeah, I was expecting that from him, to be honest. I think it's a bit of a Rublev trait, actually, that he's quite comfortable biding his time, getting through his service games, and then striking when he can take the set. And he did so brilliantly there. If I didn't miss more than 1 point, then I think that was a break to love there on the Fritz serve. So, yeah, that's always what I would describe as a steal. Anthony steals it from Fritz without him even getting a point. And takes the set, and he didn't necessarily play better throughout the set. I think they were pretty evenly matched, but just took his chance there. Some great tennis in the points that I did see, and hopefully in the point that I didn't. My screen does seem to be back now, and they did put the set 1 statistics on it, but only for about 5 seconds, so they're lost to me too. But I'm sure they were fascinating. I'll try and see if there they are. Oh, John, you are good. Yeah, so more unforced errors for Rublev, but only marginally. 2 more there. Obviously, good 7 more total points. 1. It's all pretty similar, though, isn't it? The winners 10-9. That's very similar. Unreturned serves, few more there for Rublev. And the baseline points 1, a few more for Rublev as well, but it was a very even set where Rublev just raised his game in the last game of it. So great stuff. Going back to what I was distracted by with the longer matches, how can playing 5 matches in 7 days be better than playing 5 matches in 12 days? Enlighten me. Obviously, as someone who isn't a tennis player, I don't want to take too much of an authority of this, but I would say for me, it would be about the tournament lasting. They're not only working hard when they're playing their matches. I would suggest, there's a lot of training they're doing in between. The sort of tournament, as John's put it, tournament stress and being at the tournament and being part of the tournament lasts for a lot longer. And I think also that rest time that they might have got, you might get a week off after your 5 matches in 7 days. You might get a week off where everything's lighter and you're not in that tournament bubble and mentally quite, having to be switched on all the time. So I think part of it is the matches, but I think it's more about the tournament as a whole. If I had to sort of guess, but I would encourage you to sort of maybe seek out some of the people who've been talking about it recently. Some of the actual tennis players, I'm sure they'll describe it a lot better than I could possibly describe it. And Swan has put it well there as well. Need uninterrupted training blocks to improve their game, and extending these tournaments takes up that training time. Yeah, I think that's a good point as well. Also, just in response to you, Ghosty, I always say steals when somebody gets to that sort of 4-all, and then it's 5-4 to one player, and they manage to sort of steal the set on that next game. And obviously, steal does suggest a bit of a sort of, in a bad way, which I'm always sort of hesitant about, but it does feel like a bit of a grab of it. But I don't mean it in any sort of bad way. I think it's really impressive when players are able to raise their game in that last game of a set. I've always thought that Nadal's been very good at it in recent, obviously not very recent years, but but in the latter stages of his career. I definitely think Nadal's one that bides his time and is able to steal or grab or take that final game of a set on the opponent's serve. Rublev just a little bit in trouble on the first game of this second set, 15-30. Michael saying if you're playing late at tournaments and going deep and playing long matches, new format is better, in your opinion. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously dividing opinion. I tend to just sort of listen to the tennis players that I like and that I respect. And if they're saying that they're not enjoying it and it's not working for them, then I sort of tend to listen to that. But yeah, it's definitely a debate and they're trying it out. And who knows, it might stick with it, they might not. Oh, no, I didn't think you were calling me out, Ghosty. I just wanted to explain my reasoning. I'm a big language nerd myself, so I find it fascinating. If I wasn't doing sports journalism or that sort of thing, I'm sure I'd be doing something language-based. I'm saying I do wonder if a condensed season, so it's a 9-month season, gave more time for an off season, would be something that'd be good. Yeah, it's difficult to say, isn't it? I don't know whether they would want a big long off season at the end or whether they want more sort of weeks off in between. Again, it's something I think that should probably be player-led more than anything else, and it isn't usually. Rublev just putting that inside-out forehand into the net, giving Fritz a break point here early on in this second set. Yeah, it's difficult to say. I think it's one of those things, like I say, that I think should be player-led. And obviously, it felt like this year it felt like there was no off season at all. To be honest, it really felt like the two sort of merged into each other, especially with all the exhibitions. Oof. Bit of frustration from Fritz there, unable to take advantage of that break point, and we're back at deuce. Yeah, totally agree, Ghosty. The ATP and WTA, the players don't have very much power there, and that's quite apparent, or feels quite apparent, with some of the discourse at the moment from tennis players. Game point this time to Rublev as he manages to get the advantage. Lovely big serve, hits his mark. That's unreturned, and he does manage, under some pressure there in the first game of the second set, to hold serve. And he is looking good mentally again today, Rublev. Even when he's gone break point down recently, he's been very unhappy, shall we say. Might be an understatement, but yeah, he's looking good mentally. He's looking on top of things. So yeah, interesting to see how this second set will play out. Yeah, Michael, the tour is always going to be geared towards the big players, and it's always going to be it's always going to suit them and not the players who are lower ranked and may need it more. I think that's something that we can expect to stay the same. Just long on that forehand down the line from Andrey Rublev, makes it 15-love to Taylor Fritz. Goes for the drop shot again, but Rublev running straight up to it, puts it away. The backhand cross court. Nicely done from him, 15-all. Good serve from Taylor Fritz though to make it 30-15. serve is going to be crucial going forward because it's Rublev obviously managing to raise his game in that last game of the first set, but Fritz was pretty strong otherwise. So if he can get back to that, as he makes it 40-15 with a nice forehand cross court. Oof. I think that was an ace, unless they're checking it. For Taylor Fritz? Yeah, it was. Stunning ace to seal the game there from Fritz. Love that one. Yeah, Swana, I didn't get to watch again. I was out yesterday evening, so I didn't get to watch all of Sabalenka Rybakina, but it was on when I came back. I watched the second half of the third set, and I loved it. I thought it was a great match, real quality. But I certainly think there are many players on the tour who can produce a real quality match. And naturally, I am not very good at coming up with examples on the fly, as I'm sure we're all aware of now. But if I think of one in the next few minutes, then I will share it. But I'm sure I've watched many brilliant matches between players who aren't necessarily at the very, very top of the tour. But your original point, I loved what I did see of the Sabalenka Rybakina match yesterday. I think it sounds like that definitely lived up to its hype. $30-15 here for Rublev. Oof. Nice serve out wide. Fritz can't return, 40-15. Oof. Yeah, really nice play from Rublev in that service game. I enjoyed that one. I imagine he did too. And he makes it 2-1 in this second set. See, we're having a big discussion about all of the issues within tennis at the moment. I definitely, to sum it up, I definitely think Elam's right in that tennis, it doesn't seem to be coming up with many solutions at the moment to a lot of the problems that we're talking about and that we always seem to be talking about. It doesn't feel like they're coming up with solutions. It does feel like if they had more discussions with the players, and not just the top players, but players throughout the tour, then they might find some solutions. Again, player-led feels like the way to go for me, feels a bit obvious, but it must not be. Seems the winner's prize money is often used to promote the importance of a certain tournament. Well, yeah, absolutely. You see that even when you're just watching a tennis sort of trophy ceremony at the end of a tournament, and how much of the time within that ceremony is sort of spent focused on the sponsors of the tournament rather than the players in the tournament, you know. Players back on court after a sit down now with Taylor Fritz serving. Once again into this backhand against backhand rally, but Fritz runs round to play the inside-out forehand and then comes forward to put away a forehand cross-court. 15 love. Just going back to that first serve percentage that's obviously on the screen along with the scoreboard, that perhaps is a bit of a bigger difference than when we looked earlier. 60% for Taylor and 73 for Rublev. 73 is obviously really good from Rublev's side. Fritz maybe needing to up that first serve percentage a little bit just to feel like he's really competing in this second set, although that was a lovely first serve. Another ace for Taylor for 40 love. Nice backhand down the line from Fritz as well to seal that game. And that was really tidy service game from Fritz. Feels like we could once again see the sort of thing we saw in the first set with some pretty simple service games going through. And then who's going to strike first towards the end of this second set? Sky Sports Tennis is currently showing me what I can only describe as 8-bit tennis. I've got no idea what's going on. I think pixels are about as big as the players currently. But I can see on our scoreboard that it's 30-15 to Rublev. Big serve from Andrey Rublev to make it 40-15 there. That's 5 aces each in the match now, keeping up with each other there. Nearly a very nice return on the line from Fritz, but it does just drift out. So another straightforward service game for Rublev to make it 3-2. Of course, vital update in St. Malo from Ghosty. Thank you very much. Stern 6 love in the third. Oof, that is tricky. That does feel, you're right, that does feel clay related. If I'm honest, but certainly don't think you could really say that Americans in general are so bad on clay when we're, especially when we're watching Taylor Fritz in the semi-final. But yeah, sorry about Peyton Stearns, Ghosty, and I'm sorry about Danielle Collins as well. That was a tough one, I'm sure, against Sabalenka, but I thought they both fought really well. That was a great match. Just going to do a quick check. I didn't have time to check the double score before this, where Seb Corder and Jordan Thompson were playing Jamie Murray and Michael Venus. Oh, they did take it in the end. Wow. I saw it when Jamie Murray was set up, but Seb Corder and Jordan Thompson took that one 10-8 in the third set tiebreak. So they are into the final. Nice work from them. Oof. Mistimed from Taylor Fritz there. Sails off the edge of his racket and up into the air. Yeah, it didn't feel like her movement was quite as good in her match against Sabalenka for me as well. But I thought she fought well. It was always going to be a bit tough making the switch from playing in the US to coming over to the European clay, I thought. I certainly don't think it's going to be the end of Danielle Collins having some great form in this final year on tour. I think once we go back, possibly on the grass, but certainly when we go back towards sort of the US Open and those August tournaments, we might see a lot more of her again. Rublev with a bit of a chance here at love 30 on the Taylor Fritz serve. As Fritz abandons a ball toss, looking a little bit out of sorts as that first serve goes into the net. Goes for the inside-out forehand, Taylor Fritz, but that one, I think, has been called long. Somebody must be challenging it either way, whichever way it's been called. But it was in, so I think we will be replaying a point here. Fritz first serve once again in the net, though. Ooh, totally gets it wrong on that forehand. He's smiling, but certainly not in a good way, Taylor Fritz, at that one. And Rublev has 3 break points here to go 4-2 up in this second set. Second serve, Taylor Fritz. Goes for the big cross-court forehand on the +1. Rublev gets there and moves him over to the backhand. Goes for the big angle. Rublev manages to get the slice, but it's long. Fritz saves that first break point. I am missing out. I'm aware I'm missing out on some very in-depth, brilliant economic discussion in the chat. I must say, as I said earlier, I am more of a, languages and that sort of thing person. Economics, certainly not my strong suit. But in terms of the fact that the top players make so much money and players who are on the tour and maybe not the top players don't, is definitely something that I think should be addressed. And that's my limited economics for you. Oh, Rublev going for the big forehand down the line winner. And it just clips the top of the net and goes long. And he's looking a little bit in disbelief at that one. But Fritz has saved a second break point, 30-40. Big first serve from Taylor Fritz. Rublev does well to get it back. Fritz scrambling. Rublev goes for the inside-out forehand. Fritz gets it back. Great defense from Taylor Fritz here, but Rublev will have an overhead to finish the point. He hasn't gone long, has he? Oh, that one looks close. It was just in. Oh, I thought he'd messed that one up. Great overhead from Rublev, just about. From the back of the court, nearly misses that one. I thought it was long, but it did catch the line. So Rublev does manage to break the Fritz serve. Goes 4-2 up in this second set. And this is, to be honest, going about how I thought it might. They're looking pretty evenly matched a lot of the time. But on the big points and in the big moments, Rublev just having that edge over Taylor Fritz at the moment. I nearly called him Taylor Swift then, but I refrained. Great inside-out forehand from Rublev. Oof. Another great point from Rublev. Setting it up with the wide serve, then finishing it off with the backhand down the line. Lovely stuff. I quite like that. I think people should start calling him T-Frizzle. I'm sure he'd love it. I'm not sure he would. Oh. Rublev is playing some great stuff now. Looking really locked in here. 40 love up to go 3 points to go 5-2 up on Taylor Fritz. And he's won 11 out of the last 13 points. Oh. Another. That inside-out forehand from Rublev was lush. He is looking so good right now. And suddenly that sort of evenly matched tennis that we've been seeing most of the time, Rublev says, I'm done with that. I'm going to the final. And he's one game away from doing just that. Really great stuff from Andrey Rublev here. Nice to see after quite a while of disappointment for him. Yeah, I find it really hard not to call Taylor Fritz Taylor Swift because in my house, we tend to jokingly call him Taylor Swift, which does get confusing, but we do it anyway. So I have to really remind myself on here to call him Fritz. It's interesting to know who Rublev, I'm trying to think maybe who Rublev would prefer to, if Rublev does manage to get through this, who he'd prefer to face in the final. I don't know. I think maybe on paper, maybe think Felix, just because he's very out of practice perhaps at this level. Feels like might struggle to finish off in a final. Rublev, obviously, with a bit more experience there, it feels in more recent times. But then Lehechka in a Masters final, I don't know. He's been playing some really good stuff this week. I think it'll be tough. It'll be tough. Into a rally here. Rublev going for that inside-out forehand that's been working so well for him, but goes wide this time. 15 love. got some nicknames. Now, I cannot tell, Ghosty, if you're asking me if I've got nicknames for tennis players, to which, yes, I do, or if I myself have got nicknames that people refer to me as. The answer to both is yes. I'll leave it at that. 30 love to Taylor Fritz here. I'm doing well to get over the disappointment of Rublev winning so many of the last 20 points or so. Just checking this Fritz serve. Oh, that's as close as it gets, but it is in. So he gets that point because I think either Rublev challenged it or it was an ace anyway. Either way, it's 40 love, and he's done well to recover from the last couple of games where Rublev has just been dominating, as Ghosty put it. But he's won that game to love, and he's going to make Rublev serve this out if he wants to get to the final of the Madrid Masters. Nothing if not a mystery, Ghosty. Great inside out forehand from Rublev. Still in this point, just moving Taylor Fritz from side to side. Goes for the backhand down the line. Fritz goes for the forehand down the line. Gets it all wrong. Goes long. 15 love. Taylor Fritz goes for a bit of a slice return of the Rublev serve there, and it's just gone long, according to the line judge, but he's challenged it. Bit of a hopeful challenge, that one. That was well long. So 30 love, Rublev here. Oh, and he's serving so well here. There's really nothing Taylor Fritz could do about it, even if he wanted to. That's 40 love already. And 3 match points for Andrey Rublev to make a Masters final. Oh, Fritz dumping that forehand into the net. Rublev with a massive smile towards his team. He has done it. He's beaten Taylor Fritz to get to this final in Madrid. And he's done it in some style. I mean, Fritz will be disappointed, but I'm not sure how much he could have done today at times when Rublev was sort of really going for it, which he was at times. Then I'm not sure there was much Fritz could do. I think in the big points, in the big moments, the middle of that second set, the end of the first set, it was very much all Andrey Rublev. And I, for one, am very, very pleased to see him make this Madrid final. Shame for Taylor Fritz, but hopefully he can take a lot from this. I think even making the semis this week was probably not what he would have expected going into it. He doesn't come across as much of an optimist when he speaks anyway. So I'm not sure he would have expected that. Hopefully he can take a lot from it. I think he did really well to make the semis. But Rublev very much too good for him today. Ghosty very pleased with that. Yeah, like as John says, is that on behalf of Rublev or perhaps in bashing of Taylor? Who knows? Either way, I too am very happy for Andrey today. It's really nice to see him keep his cool. He did face a few break points, but nothing too worrying for him, I would say. Obviously, Fritz did break him in the first game of the match, but he broke back immediately and went on from there, really. That serving does feel like a bit of a big stat. 55% first serve in for Fritz, 75% Rublev. He did serve brilliantly today. And 0 double faults for Rublev as well. So, no, what am I saying? He did 3. Why does it say? Why does it say on here that he didn't do any double faults, but it says on there he did 3? Okay, well, he either did 0 or 3 double faults, Rublev. It's one of the two. So take whichever stat you prefer, I guess. But at least the first serve stats are the same everywhere. But yeah, really excited for Rublev in the final. Will he have too much for Lehechka or Auger-Aliassime, whoever gets to that final? I think it's very possible. I think he'll be the clear favourite, whoever he's against, or he will be for me anyway. The tennis he's played this week has been really impressive. Mentally, he's been really impressive. He looks like a different Rublev to the one we've seen recently. And hopefully he doesn't feel that sort of pressure of playing somebody he is expected to beat. Because I think there could be another Masters title on the cards, for Rublev this weekend. But obviously, still got a semi-final to go before then, and I'm sure either one of those two players will have something to say about that one. So, Catherine wants Rublev to win the final as well. But yes, make sure you join Damien later. I'm sure you were planning on it anyway. For Lehechka against Auger-Aliassime. I believe that's in a few hours, maybe 2.5, if I'm doing my maths right. So yeah, make sure you join them. I'll certainly be watching. 7 p.m. UK, 8 p.m. CET. There you are. So wherever you are, make sure you join Damien for that semi-final. And make sure you join us for the final as well, I'm sure, which will be very interesting, whatever the outcome later. Thank you to everyone in the chat. I've very much enjoyed our in-depth, well, I say I didn't really contribute, but your in-depth economic discussion today. It's been illuminating in many ways. I've enjoyed it very much. Thank you very much for joining me. I've loved it, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. And in the meantime, make sure you keep talking tennis.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis. Hi Novak. I don't know if you saw what Vasek said last night about organising and tennis could and should be even bigger than it already is. If only the people organising it were doing their job properly. He highlighted the balls, he highlighted playing late at night and then early in the morning and injuries. I just wondered whether you heard that, but also if you'd like to add something.
No, I haven't heard that. I actually saw Vasek just before I came here to see you guys, but I haven't seen his statement on that. But there's been a lot of discussions on the effect of the different balls and basically every week on the joints and the wrist and the shoulders and the elbows. And I think someone told me that in terms of injuries this year comparing to other years is drastically has gone up. So yeah, in terms of the balls, I absolutely agree. There should be some discussion on that. I actually spoke about that with Andrea Gaudenzi, the ATP president, and Massimo, who's the CEO, in Paris during the Paris-Bercy week. And I shared my opinion and my views, and then obviously they are thinking about various different options and ways of how to regulate that and how to make it better for the players and prevent injuries. In terms of the scheduling, I think there has been a lot of criticism and a lot of basically players complaining about it. So I think that should be addressed in a proper way. Obviously, Davis Cup and ITF is regulated differently from ATP Tour and from Grand Slams. You have different governing bodies, different schedules, different broadcasting demands. In the end of the day, we know that the TV is the one deciding, fortunately or unfortunately, but there has to be more, I guess, thorough discussions on that as well.